There's a great article that I found that I want to share with you all. I think it's a great educational article. You could click the link below if you want to take a look at it yourself. The title of the article is 9 Signs You're Successful Even If It Doesn't Feel Like It. If you're ambitious, you're bound to feel like a failure from time to time. Lofty goals lead to inevitable moments when you aren't yet living up to your expectations. We live in a world that reinforces this feeling, though most people won't admit it, other than the guy with the "he who dies with the most toys wins" bumper sticker. In the back of our minds, we equate material possessions with success. It's a shame we fall prey to materialistic thinking because we certainly know better. A study by Strayer University found that 90% of Americans believe happiness is a bigger indicator of success than power, possessions, or prestige. Digging a little deeper, 67% define success as good relationships with friends and family, and 60% said it is loving what you do for a living. Only 20% stated that monetary wealth determines success. When it comes to success, our eyes often lead us astray. It's hard not to feel like the most successful people are those with the biggest houses, the most expensive cars, and the most influential friends. Regardless of what you achieve, there's always someone with more, and this can make you feel like you're losing. The problem isn't your lack of toys, it's believing that toys indicate true success. Real success is about who you are and how far you've come. If you ever worry that you're not as successful as you should be, you may be evaluating yourself against the wrong criteria. Sometimes you just need a reminder as to what you've really accomplished in life. The success indicators that follow will help you do just that. Number one, you're no longer the center of the universe. We all know successful people who act like they're the center of the universe. It's the world and the rest of us just live in it, right? That's not success. True success requires the ability to feel empathy, to realize that other people's feelings and dreams are just as important as ours, and we cannot succeed without them. Number two, you stay positive. Hope and optimism are essential components of a happy life. If you dwell on the things that go wrong, you become bitter and resentful. When that happens, you fail, no matter what you may have achieved. Real success means always seeing the bright side and believing you have the power to make even the worst situations better. Number three, you know that failure isn't forever. You've learned that the only people who never fail are those who don't try. When you fail, you don't automatically assume that you're a failure. Instead, you embrace each failure as an opportunity to learn something, and then you move on. If you still struggle with this at times, you know that you'll never experience true success until you learn to embrace failure. Your mistakes pave the way for your success by revealing when you're on the wrong path. The biggest breakthroughs typically come when you're feeling the most frustrated and the most stuck. It's this frustration that forces you to think differently, to look outside the box and see the solution you've been missing. Number four, you keep things in perspective. Sometimes bad things happen, it's part of life. For most of us, however, our very worst day would seem like a vacation to somebody who has real problems, not like having enough to eat or trying to survive a civil war. Locking your keys in the car or even getting passed over for a promotion aren't that bad once you learn to develop perspective. If you've mastered the ability to keep your problems in perspective, mark it down as a huge success. Number five, you ask for help when you need it. Refusing to ask for help no matter how much you're struggling is a sign of emotional immaturity. Asking for help means that you no longer feel like you have something to prove by being perfect. It shows you aren't afraid of people discovering your weaknesses and you understand no one succeeds alone. Number six, you realize that life isn't a zero-sum game. It's not a seesaw either. Just because somebody else achieves a big success, that doesn't mean you suffer a loss in equal proportion. You just didn't win that particular time. One sure sign of success is the ability to celebrate others' achievements with sincere enthusiasm. Number 7, you can tell the difference between drama and excitement. Remember the days when stable relationships were boring and you quickly got tired of anyone who treated you as they should? If that kind of drama is a thing of the past, congratulations. If you prefer stability and depth to drama, you're succeeding. Number 8, you no longer care what other people think. You only worry about what other people think when you still feel like you have something to prove. Conversely, you know you've made it when you don't worry about that anymore. When you're true to yourself and your priorities and satisfied with your life. You know you've made it when you understand that other people's opinions are just that, opinions. They have no effect on reality. They don't change who or what you are. Number 9, you accept what you can't change and change what you can. There's a difference between pessimism and practicality. If there's a hurricane headed your way, there's nothing you could do to stop it. But once you accept that the hurricane is coming, you can start working to mitigate its effects. If your company downsizes and you get laid off, every moment you spend in denial just delays whatever is waiting over the horizon. You're able to move on only when you start exploring your options and making plans to change what you can. Taking responsibility for changing the things you don't like about your life is one of the biggest indicators of success. Bringing it all together. There's no sense in feeling like a failure just because you think you should have a better job, a bigger house, or a nicer car. Real success comes from the inside and is completely independent of circumstance. Alright, so that's the article right there. Once again, you can reread it yourself. Just click the link below. I really liked the article. You know, it made me feel like I should share the article. You know, I think it made some really good points. Just to recap, you know, number 1, you're no longer the center of the universe. Number 2, you stay positive. Number 3, you know that failure isn't forever. Number 4, you keep things in perspective. Number 5, you ask for help when you need it. Number 6, you realize that life isn't a zero-sum game. Number 7, you can tell the difference between drama and excitement. Number 8, you no longer care what other people think. Number 9, you accept what you can't change and change what you can. Alright, so my commentary on each one of those. First off, I really like that study. It's a scientific study. It said, you know, from the university, it said that 90% of Americans believe happiness is a bigger indicator of success than power, possessions, or prestige. You know, 90% of people believe that, and I believe that as well. Your happiness is extremely important. That's more important than anything out there. More important than anything that you could own, no matter how much money you have, no matter how many homes or cars or nice things that you have. Your happiness is the key. So happiness boils down to mental health. It comes to meditation as well. Meditation is one of the key ingredients to building happiness from within. Also your physical. So remember, I keep talking about the slogan of the school is balancing body, mind, and spirit. So I keep talking about how important it is to develop your body. If you are not healthy, it's going to be hard to be happy. You know, if you have a heart problem, and you know, you have lung cancer, you have skin cancer, you know, breast cancer, any type of cancer, and you know, you're really overweight, leading to health complications, basically you don't exercise, you don't eat right, it's going to affect your level of happiness. If you are engaged in a lifestyle and you start eating very healthy, you're going to notice how you're going to feel when you don't eat healthy. It could cause a lot of bad mood. It could cause depression. So eating healthy is extremely important. Sleeping well is extremely important as well. If you don't sleep well, only getting 2-3 hours of sleep a night, it's going to be very hard to be happy. It's going to be very hard to be productive. So you need to sleep well, you need to eat right, and you need to exercise. When you exercise, it's a natural form of like bringing happiness from within without having to take any medication or anything like that. You know, when you're going for that run, going for that bike ride, you're doing the weight training, it brings this feeling of happiness. So sleeping right, exercising, and eating well, nutritiously. Sleeping about 8 hours a day or 8 hours a night is good. All right. So that's the body component of happiness. The mental component is seeking help when you need it. Don't be afraid to go to a therapist or a counselor or a psychologist if you need to. A lot of times these are paid by your insurance, and these are professionals, so they can help you through your problems. Kind of, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like when you watch these videos, for example, it's like a form of that, but just live. So when you seek for the help of professionals to help you mentally and emotionally when you're going through struggles in life, it's very beneficial for your health. So seek out medical or the professionals for your mental health if you need it. Other things that you could do is, if you're not at that state where you need that type of help, you can still prepare by becoming educated and knowledge to the point when you go through life struggles, you're essentially helping yourself through that prior knowledge and education. So when you go to the library and you read those helpful books on philosophy, Eastern philosophy, religious texts, self-help books, psychology books, like books that are designed to develop your mental health, that's extremely important. You could do that, or if you have friends that are really well knowledgeable in those areas, just engaging in conversations with these individuals can be very helpful. It's almost like they are counselors that are trained themselves because they study those areas of development. So you are either having friends that are trained in that area to speak to, going to the library to read books in those areas, going to a professional in that field, a counselor, a therapist. Other things that you could do, watching YouTube videos from people that are developed in those areas, speaking on topics that could help you. You could YouTube, having some relationship problems, YouTube that. See, there's even licensed therapists on YouTube that are giving their recommendations and feedbacks in those areas. So you could YouTube it. You could also Google to find articles that are going to be helpful for the areas that you need to develop, by people that are qualified. So all the resources that are out there, there's absolutely no reason to not develop your mental side in order to develop that happiness. You hear time and time and again, there's people all over the world, rich people, poor people, middle class people, men and women. A lot of people are suffering severe depression. They're on medications, or some of them even commit suicide. People get bullied, people get harassed, people go through a lot of mental struggles out there, and they're just not happy. But you need to put effort to develop this mental aspect of yourself. so then you don't go through those struggles. And if they do happen, you're able to overcome them with greater ease. That's part of the mental development in the martial arts. That's extremely important. You know, it's like, you know, being able to run a mile or whatnot and not be totally exhausted because you trained for that. For the mental, it's like being able to, you know, when struggles come, you could deal with it more easily because you've trained yourself mentally and emotionally to be able to withstand these struggles. Okay, so that area is extremely important. The spiritual, the meditation just goes hand in hand with that. When you study meditation and you develop yourself in meditation, it is pretty much the golden key to understanding the mind and being able to control the mind, so then you're not allowing the mind to take control of you during times of difficulty. So meditation is the key, and you know, it's an extremely important component in the martial arts, but it's an important component into practices such as Buddhism. You know, the Buddha would teach about meditation, so look into that as well. All right, so those are the components of bringing happiness in your life. Is essentially meditation, education, and your physical health. If you have all that, happiness will come, and it will stay. You know, it's not going to fluctuate. It's just always going to be there. So 90% of Americans believe happiness is a bigger indicator of success than power, possessions, or prestige. Then it says 67% define success as good relationships with friends and family. So once again, this has nothing to do with your luxuries or what you own, what you have, but it's about your relationships with your friends and family. That's extremely important as well. I mean, no matter how much money you have, it's not that joyful when you're just by yourself and you have no one to share that money with. You know, sharing that money, sharing your success with the people that you care about, your family and your close friends, is a big component of happiness and success, as this article is indicating. So maintaining those relationships with people, our world is revolved around relationships. You're born from a relationship, from the relationship of what your mother and father developed, and then the relationship of you and your mother when you were born, and then if your father was around, your relationship with your father, and then your grandparents, and you go to school, you develop relationships with the teachers, and your classmates. Your classmates can become your friends, and then later on in life, you could end up meeting somebody that you connect with romantically, and then that person becomes a part of your family, and then you could essentially create children, and then you extend that family. So basically, relationship is extremely important within the overall happiness that we have. So do what you can to maintain these relationships with the people that you care about. And that also goes about learning how to resolve conflict and differences, and getting along with people, and respecting people, respecting yourself, treating others as how you like to be treated. These are all life skills that are very important for success. Alright, so then the next one, it says 60% said it is loving what you do for a living. So once again, that's not even about material possessions, but if you're going to be working 40 hours a week or more, because a lot of times we're commuting to and from work, some of us are commuting maybe even an hour each way. So if you're working 5 days a week, that's an extra 10 hours of commute, in addition to the 40 hours that people typically put in for full-time positions. So that's 50 hours of your time dedicated to your work, to your line of work. And then you're sleeping 8 hours a day. I mean, your life is work. So it's very important that what you do for a living, that you enjoy it, because you're spending so much time at work. You have to make sure that you actually enjoy it, that you find fulfillment in it, that you reach your potential in what you do. And that's a big part of your happiness, a big part of the indication of success, the people that are truly happy in their line of work. You know, when you're younger, it's kind of hard to figure out, you know, what you want to do, what you want to be when you grow up. But the earlier that you put thought into it, the easier it will make it in the long run for when you get older. So start thinking about those things, and don't necessarily think about how much money you'll make, but just think about what truly makes you happy. The money will come. You know, it will come, because if you love what you do and you work hard, then the possibilities are endless. And just believe in yourself and have hope. And that's important. Okay. And then it says, finally, 20% stated that monetary wealth determines success. So there's that 20%, which is important as well. You know, I mean, it is important to get paid. You know, paid well. You know, it's tough. You know, when you have people that have jobs where they work so hard and they get minimum wage, and then you have other jobs where they pay you 2-3 times or more when you know, when you don't even work as hard. You know, so putting in the effort to figuring out which jobs are most fit for your personality and which ones that appeal to you the most, and then ranking them as far as how much money each position is, and to see whether or not it's worth striving towards that position. If you have like a list of 10 different jobs, find out all the pay scales for each job, and just start ranking the jobs as far as the ones that you like the most, you know, and then look at the pay scale for each job, and then put that in consideration when you make your determination of which job that you should strive towards. I mean, I've noticed that, you know, I mean, it's important, you know, doing what you love is important, but at the same time, making enough money is important as well, you know. And it just doesn't make sense to work a job where you're making $20,000 a year when you could be making like 60,000 or 80,000 doing something else that you would also enjoy as well. So do the research. You know, don't just be content with the bare minimum. You know, we have a long life ahead of us, and it's nice to set goals for yourself in which to strive towards. So you might start off with a job that might be making 20,000 a year, and you know, make it a goal, you know, to strive for the next job after that pays even more, you know, to give yourself something to work towards. Okay. All right, so that's my commentary on that part of the article, and then you know, I'm just gonna go over the other ones quicker. You're no longer the center of the universe. So that equates to me just basically understanding that, you know, not allowing your ego, allowing your head to get, you know, to blow up your head, to make it seem like you're so important that you basically like diminishing and minimizing those narcissistic characteristics. I think when you develop maturity, you learn to not be a narcissist. You learn to humble yourself and to recognize the beauties and the talents of everybody around you, and that you are not the only special person in this world. There's a lot of skilled and talented people all over the world, and you happen to be a part of this population, and that you're not better than anybody else, but at the same time nobody is better than you either. We are all gifted in many ways. And just to minimize that narcissism, that shows a sign of maturity, and that comes with experience and age. All right, so the next one, it says stay positive. You stay positive, and that's what was a really important lesson for me to learn. There's no reason for me to even produce anything and to share anything in social media if I'm not going to be positive. There's already so much negativity out there. Every time you read up anything that's happening around the world, they're always talking about violent things. There's a lot of negativity all over. We need more positivity in this world. So creating content that's positive and sharing that positivity is extremely important. If I am not feeling positive, then I should remain silent and don't spread my negativity. Next one is, that failure isn't forever. That's an important life lesson to just, to be able to understand that there's a lot that can be learned in life when you fail. There's nothing wrong with failing, and even, Michael Jordan made a quote. I think I forgot exactly the numbers, but he said something like he missed over 20,000 shots in his career. And you're not going to be able to learn how to make a shot unless you miss a shot. And it's all a process of growth. And you don't even need to see it as a failure. You just see it as just learning. When somebody is better than you in anything, they're able to teach you. When you are engaged with this person, they're teaching you when they're better than you. If you're always the best one at all times, it's going to be hard to learn because there's no one ahead of you to learn from. So even for me, I learned a lot from the sages, like Lao Tzu. He died thousands of years ago, but his wisdom is endless, it's timeless. And he's much older, much more wiser. Learning from Osho as well, older, wiser. You learn from the people that have more experience than you. And it's really not such a thing as failure. It's just about learning, and the more people that you can find that have skill and talent out there, the more that you can learn, and there's a beauty in it. So don't be afraid of failure. Now the person says, you ask for help when you need it. That's something, once again, you don't let your ego get in the way. And that's something that I come to terms with as well. It's just recognizing that I need the help of the people out there in order to succeed. I need the help of my children. I need the help of my partner. I need the help of my students. Without my students, without my children, without my partner, without the YouTube community, there's no way that I could just succeed on my own. So I need all the help that I can get. And that's a part of developing yourself, to become humble, to not think that you can do everything on your own without the help with other people. So there's nothing wrong with asking for help. You no longer care what other people think. So that's something that I've always lived by, for a long time, is to just be yourself. There's always going to be people out there that disagree with you, might not like you for whatever reason, but I always hold true to, I'd rather have, 10 people or a handful of people that love me for who I am than, 100 or more people that love me for who I'm not. Being true to myself is extremely important. I've learned that early on in life. So I think that teaching is extremely important. And then just lastly, I'll just mention you accept what you can't change and change what you can. So, I've made a lot of videos in the past just basically criticizing a lot of things that I saw that could be improved. And just, but now you kind of sit back and see that, hey, the world is the way that it is. Some things you just can't change. And the best thing is just changing what you can change. So I could change like how I express myself. I could change my expression from negative to positive. And I could decide that I'm only gonna put positive material out there. Regardless of how much negativity that I see out there, I don't need to criticize those things that I can't change. Because that's how the world is. Just recently I was taking a bike ride to Lake Michigan and I see that the water is like overflowing and it's getting very high level, like spilling over onto the bike lane, getting closer and closer towards the highway. That's something that I can't change. I see what it is and I'm just like, wow, look what's happening. There's violence in this world, and it's, you wish that there wasn't, but it's just this part of the world. This is how it is. But you could help yourself to not be violent yourself, and you could also inspire others around you to not be violent either. You can inspire others to be more peaceful. So just seeing the world isn't perfect, but that's okay. But there's a lot of things that you could do in your own life where you can make things better for your own life and for the people around you. So that's what this channel is designed for, is to pretty much put positive energy out there. And I hope that people enjoyed this article. I hope that people enjoyed my commentary on this article. And I thank everybody for all your support. You could click below to read the article yourself and to reflect on the article. Everybody, take care. And in Chinese, to say thank you is 多谢.